Crux Rome Bureau Chief Ines Martin was flying with the Pope on the trip home, and she joins us now from Rome. Ines, thank you so much for being here as always. What was the mood like on board the plane? Reporters pressed the Pope for answers about the Vigano allegations, and his response was, "Do your job."
To be honest, Liz, there was a little bit of disappointment. We were all hoping the Pope would just flat out deny all of the allegations. We understand that he sort of did so by saying, I'm not going to comment, I'm not going to say a single word about it, do your job. But at the same time, at a moment in which many people accuse Francis of generating confusion within the church over other issues, I believe the mood in general was one in which we'd hoped he'd say, it's all lies, move on.
How will you and your colleagues receive and pursue the Pope's challenge to pursue the truth?
Well, we're going to have to go at it. We're going to just have to go follow the evidence, see wherever it leads. There are enough little tidbits in the letter that seem to be truth. We've heard from some people already saying that they can confirm this little bit of information, that little bit of information, which of course leads us journalists to believe there might be more truth than lies, or even if it's all a lie, there might be some truth to it that has to be unpacked.
Keeping in mind that this Vigano story is still developing, how big could it become? I mean, the Archbishop wants the Pope to resign.
Well, I don't think the Pope is going to be resigning anytime soon. He's an Argentinian, and as such, he's stubborn. In addition to that, I do believe he thinks he's innocent. If not, he would not have told us journalists to keep going and go at it. Because in many ways, I mean, that's how I took it. Pope Francis gave us an open invitation to investigate him and to go after him. What he thinks is going to happen is that his name will be cleared. If that is, in fact, what happens, then the story will eventually be killed by the evidence. However, we have to wait and see what happens.
Well, Ines, you know, the Pope spent obviously 2 days in Ireland and at the World Meeting of Families. During the press conference, did the Holy Father rate the success of that mission?
He didn't necessarily rate the success of the mission, but he did, however, at least told us that he was happily impressed by the level of, by the faith of the Irish people and their commitment to it, despite what he called the many sufferings the Irish people have gone through, particularly in the hands of the church. This was, of course, a key element during the entire trip. He referred not only to clerical sexual abuse, but also many other crimes the Catholic Church is guilty of in Ireland during 4 opportunities during his trip. And regardless of that, the people were still there at Phoenix Park on Sunday. 300,000 people showed up despite the weather just to be with the Pope.
Now, of the many questions, Francis was also asked about abortion following the Irish vote to legalize the deadly procedure and his homeland's decision to continue to restrict the practice in Argentina. What was your thoughts there?
Well, I particularly found it interesting because a lot of people in Argentina were complaining. There's the one side that said the Catholic Church got too involved, but there are also many Catholics who are hoping Pope Francis would have gotten involved, specifically in the debate in his own country. However, that didn't happen, and in fact, very few bishops or priests were actually in the front lines when it came to the debate. That is why I found it particularly interesting when he told us abortion is not a religious issue. In a way, he's explaining himself for the fact that he didn't, in fact, comment during the debate in Argentina. It is, he said, an anthropological issue, and it should be studied as a human issue, not a religious one. I personally found it to be interesting. It's not like he hasn't said it before, but it was definitely a way of answering to those back home who'd been asking for him to comment on it.
He was also asked about Marie Collins, the Irish abuse survivor, former member of his Commission for the Protection of Minors. She's been pushing for a Vatican tribunal to judge bishops who fail to handle abuse cases properly.
Yes, and at least she's not the only one who's pushing for this. I have to say, I'm pushing for the exact same thing. We need to see accountability for the bishops. We don't see it yet. Pope Francis told us that what is going on right now is that ad hoc tribunals are being formed when a bishop needs to be put on trial. He told us of a trial against a former Archbishop of Guam, and he also told us about a second trial going on a second bishop. However, he failed to disclose who this bishop was and what the charges against him are. So again, he failed to, in my opinion, deliver when it comes to transparency and accountability.
All right, thank you, Ines. Always good to talk to you.
Thank you, Liz.